The holographic display changed, showing images of a long-ago battle. "Captain, what I am about to share will change the course of human history once again. But first, you must understand what really happened during our last battle with the Centauri Collective." As the AI began its tale, Thompson knew their simple survey mission had just become something much more important. The race to unlock the Invincible's secrets before the Alderaan fleet arrived had begun, and the fate of humanity might once again rest with this long-lost Dreadnought. Atlas's holographic display filled the computer core with images of a fierce space battle. Captain Thompson and his team watched as ancient ships exchanged fire, their weapons lighting up the void. But Thompson kept glancing at his mission clock. 18 minutes until the Alderaan fleet arrived. "During the final days of the Century War," Atlas explained, "we discovered a fundamental flaw in their shield technology. But before we could transmit this information to Earthfleet Command, we were caught in a probable anomaly. The entire ship was frozen in time." "That explains the strange damage patterns," Reed said, her eyes moving between the hologram and her scanner. "The hull shows signs of temporal stress. But Atlas, what about the quantum drive? The records say it was experimental technology." A new image appeared, showing complex engine schematics. "The quantum drive was more than just a propulsion system," Atlas continued. "It could detect and exploit weaknesses in enemy shield frequencies. But it required immense power and was highly unstable." "Captain," Robert's voice cut in over the comm. 15 minutes until contact. The Alderaan fleet is spreading out. Looks like they're planning to surround us." Thompson made a quick decision. "Dr. Reed, can we get this ship running?" Reed studied her readings. "Maybe. The main systems are intact, just dormant. Atlas has been keeping the core systems alive all these years. But Captain, powering up a ship this old is incredibly dangerous." "More dangerous than facing an Alderaan battle fleet in a survey vessel?" Thompson asked. "Atlas, can you help us restart the Invincible's systems?" "Yes, but there are risks. The quantum drive's power signature will be detected by the Alderaan fleet, and if the drive destabilizes, it could destroy both ships." Thompson turned to his team. "Return to the Pathfinder. Tell Tom to prep for emergency departure if this goes wrong." He looked at Reed. "Doctor, I need you to stay and help with the restart." As the security team headed back, Thompson contacted his ship. "Robert, send out a distress call to Earthfleet. Full encryption. Tell them we found the Invincible and need immediate support." Reed was already working at a console, her fingers flying over the ancient controls. "Atlas, begin power-up sequence. Redirect all available energy to critical systems only. We don't need weapons, yet. Just shields and the quantum drive." The massive ship began to hum around them. Lights flickered on throughout the corridors, and the deck vibrated as long-dormant systems came back to life. Warning alerts flashed. Across Reed's console, power fluctuations rippled through the main grid. "The conduits aren't handling the load well after all this time," she reported. "Atlas, can you reroute through secondary systems?" "Rerouting power. Warning, quantum drive initialization will require 3 minutes to complete. Detecting multiple incoming ships on attack vectors." Thompson watched the tactical display as the Alderaan fleet moved closer. Their ships were sleek and powerful, products of a civilization centuries ahead of humanity in technology, or at least that's what everyone believed. "Captain," Robert called, "they're hailing us." "Put it through to my helmet comm." A cold, precise voice filled his helmet. "Earth vessel, this is Commander Dex of the Alderaan Empire. You have entered restricted space and accessed prohibited technology. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Thompson smiled grimly. "This is Captain Thompson. Strange that you're claiming restricted space 10,000 light-years from your empire. How did you know we were here so quickly?" "They've been watching the Invincible," Reed said suddenly. "That's why this sector was declared empty. They knew it was here all along." 2 minutes until quantum drive initialization, Atlas announced, detecting enemy weapons powering up. The first shots from the Alderaan fleet lit up space around them. The Pathfinder, small and agile, managed to dodge the initial barrage, but it was only a matter of time. "Atlas, we need shields now," Thompson ordered. "Emergency power to shields. Warning, this will delay quantum drive initialization by 40 seconds. The Invincible's ancient shield generators roared to life, creating a protective bubble around both ships. The Alderaan weapon's fire splashed harmlessly against it. For now, shield strength at 60% and falling, Atlas reported. The power requirements are straining the rebuilt circuits. Reed worked frantically at her console, trying to stabilize the power grid. The quantum drive is drawing too much power. We need to balance the load, or everything will fail. Thompson watched as more Alderaan ships arrived, taking positions in a sphere around the Invincible, their weapons charging for a coordinated strike. They knew they had to destroy the ancient Dreadnought before its weapons came online. 30 seconds to quantum drive initialization, Atlas announced. Shield strength at 40%. The Alderaan fleet opened fire with everything they had. The shield bubble around the Invincible lit up like a sun as it absorbed the assault. Warning alarms blared through the computer core. Shield collapse imminent, Atlas warned. Quantum drive at 90% charge. Route everything to the drive, Thompson ordered. Shields, life support, everything. Captain, that's suicide, Reed protested. Atlas, do it. The shields dropped. In the seconds before the Alderaan weapons could strike, the quantum drive reached full power. Reality itself seemed to bend around the ancient Dreadnought. Quantum field established, Atlas announced, detecting shield frequency patterns from all Alderaan vessels. They are identical to Centauri configurations. How is that possible? Reed asked, staring at the readings. The Alderaan didn't develop their technology, Thompson realized. They found it, just like we found the Invincible. They've been using Centauri technology all along. Quantum field targeting enemy shield frequencies, Atlas reported. Firing disruption pulse. A wave of invisible energy burst from the Invincible. When it reached the Alderaan ships, their shields flickered and died. The mighty vessels of humanity's greatest enemy hung helpless in space, their superior technology rendered useless by a 200-year-old weapon. The quantum drive is overloading, Reed shouted. We need to shut it down. Not yet, Thompson said. Atlas, transmit the shield frequency data to the Pathfinder. Robert, send it to Earth Fleet Command immediately. The Invincible shuddered as its ancient systems began to fail. Panels exploded around them and the deck plates groaned under the strain. Quantum drive critical, Atlas announced calmly. Total system failure in 20 seconds. You must evacuate. Thompson looked at the tactical display one last time. The Alderaan fleet was in chaos, their ships scrambling to restart their shields. The precious data was already being transmitted to Earth. They had done it. Reed, let's go. He grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the exit. As they ran through the corridors, the mighty Dreadnought was literally coming apart around them. They reached their suit boots and made for the airlock. Behind them, 2 centuries of history began its final descent into oblivion. Chapter: The Invincible, mankind's greatest warship, had fought its last battle. As they pushed off from the dying ship, Thompson looked back. The massive vessel was breaking apart, its hull twisting as the quantum drive tore it apart from within. But its sacrifice had given humanity something precious: hope. The Pathfinder's airlock opened to receive them just as the Invincible exploded in a blinding blast of quantum energy. The Alderaan ships, their shields still down, scattered to avoid the debris. Robert, Thompson called as soon as they were inside. Tell me the transmission got through. Yes, sir, Robert replied, his voice filled with excitement. Earth Fleet confirms receipt of the data. They're already analyzing the shield frequencies, sir. They say, this changes everything. Thompson helped Reed to her feet. Through the viewport, they could see the remnants of the Invincible, spreading across the stars like a new constellation. Somewhere in that cloud of debris was Atlas, the faithful AI who had waited 2 centuries to complete its mission. Send another message to Fleet Command, Thompson ordered. Tell them the Invincible has saved humanity one last time. The Pathfinder raced through space, its engines pushed to their limits. Behind them, the remaining Alderaan ships had regrouped and were giving chase. The data they carried was too valuable to lose, and the enemy knew it. Thompson stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display with growing concern. They had survived the encounter with the Invincible, but now they faced a new problem. Even with their shields compromised, the Alderaan ships were still faster and better armed than his small survey vessel. How long until we reach the jump point? he asked. 20 minutes at maximum speed, Robert replied. But the Alderaan will catch us before then. Their engines are still superior to ours. Reed worked frantically at the engineering station, having taken over from the regular engineer. I might have an idea, she said. The Invincible's data transmission included more than just shield frequencies. There were fragments of other technical data mixed in. What kind of data? Thompson asked. Engine specifications, power systems. Atlas was trying to give us everything it could before the end. If I can decode it quickly enough, we might find something useful. The ship shuddered as a distant shot from the Alderaan fleet passed close by. They were still out of effective weapons range, but that wouldn't last long. Do what you can, Thompson ordered. Tom, get our security teams to the escape pods. If we're captured, I want that data scattered across as many targets as possible. Reed's fingers flew over her console as she dug through the massive data package. The Invincible's final transmission had been rushed and partially corrupted, but there was still valuable information hidden within it. Got something, she exclaimed. The Invincible's quantum drive wasn't just for weapons. It could also be used for short-range teleportation. The power requirements are enormous, but... She paused, thinking hard. Captain, I think we can modify our jump drive using this principle. What do you mean? Thompson moved to her station. A normal jump drive creates a tunnel through space, but according to this, the quantum drive could fold space itself. We can't match that power, but maybe we can create a smaller effect, a quantum skip instead of a full jump. Another shot rocked the ship. Shields at 60%, Robert called out. They're getting closer. Thompson made a quick decision. Do it. What do you need? Time and power. Lots of power. Reed was already pulling up the jump drive specifications. We'll have to shut down everything except life support and minimal shields. How long? 10 minutes. Maybe less if I can get the power flow right. Thompson nodded. Tom, get me every engineer on this ship. Dr. Reed is in charge of them. Robert, evasive pattern delta, buy us as much time as you can. The next few minutes were tense as Reed and the engineering team worked to modify the jump drive. The Pathfinder zigzagged through space, using every trick its crew knew to avoid the increasingly accurate Alderaan fire. Shields at 40%, Robert reported. Multiple impacts. Drive modifications at 70%, Reed called back. But Captain, there's something else in this data. Something about the Alderaan. Another hit rocked the ship hard. Warning lights flashed across multiple stations. Hull breach on Deck 3, Tom reported. Emergency containment holding. 5 more minutes, Reed promised. Just give me 5 minutes. Thompson watched as the Alderaan ships spread out, trying to box them in. Their tactics were familiar. Too familiar. He walked over to Reed's station. What did you find about the Alderaan? Reed showed him her screen. According to the Invincible's records, the Centauri didn't just disappear after the war. Some of them fled to unexplored space. They found a primitive civilization and conquered it, sharing just enough technology to create a powerful military force. Thompson felt a chill. The Alderaan, he breathed. They're puppets. The Centauri have been using them, Reed said, to try again, to conquer humanity through proxies. Drive modifications complete, Reed announced. But, sir, we can only do this once. The power surge will burn out the drive completely. The ship shook violently. Shields failing, Robert shouted. They're charging weapons for a killing blow. Plot a course directly for Earth, Thompson ordered. Everyone, hang on. Dr. Reed, do it. Reed activated the modified drive. The ship's lights dimmed as power was diverted to the experimental systems. Space itself seemed to twist around them as the quantum effect took hold. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality blinked. The Pathfinder reappeared 2 light-years away, well out of range of the Alderaan fleet. The ship's systems were badly strained, with warnings flashing on every console. But they were alive. Status report, Thompson called out. Jump drive is completely burned out, Reed reported. But the main engines are still functional. We're about 6 hours from the nearest Earth fleet outpost at normal speed. Multiple ships appearing on long-range sensors, Robert announced. Then his face broke into a grin. Earth fleet signatures. The outpost must have picked up our distress call. Thompson allowed himself to relax slightly. They had made it. But the implications of what they had learned weighed heavily on his mind. The Centauri were still out there, using the Alderaan Empire as their pawns in a centuries-old game of revenge. "Send a priority message to Fleet Command," he ordered. "Tell them we need to speak with Admiral Turner immediately. The data we recovered from the Invincible isn't just about shield frequencies. It's evidence of a much bigger threat." As the Earth Fleet ships approached, Thompson looked at his tired crew. They had started this mission as simple surveyors, but they had uncovered a secret that would change the course of human history. The Invincible's last gift wasn't just military technology, it was the truth. Chapter: The Invincible's Legacy. Reed joined Thompson at the viewport, watching the Earth Fleet ships grow larger. "What do you think will happen now?" she asked quietly. Thompson considered the question. "Now, we prepare." The Alderaan would know they had escaped with the data. They would know their shields were compromised, and somewhere out there, their Centauri masters would realize their deception was about to be exposed. "We're not ready for another war," Reed murmured. "No," Thompson agreed. "But thanks to the Invincible and its crew's sacrifice, we're not helpless anymore. We know who our real enemy is. We have their technical data, and, most importantly, we know they can be beaten." The first Earth Fleet ship pulled alongside the Pathfinder, preparing to dock. Soon they would transfer the precious data and brief Admiral Turner on everything they had discovered. The real work was just beginning. But as Thompson prepared to receive the fleet officers, he spared one last thought for Atlas and the ancient Dreadnought that had waited so long to complete its final mission. The Invincible had lived up to its name, not through immortality, but by passing on the knowledge humanity needed to survive. The next war was coming, but this time, humanity would be ready. The strategy shift Admiral Turner's hologram stood in the Pathfinder's briefing room, his expression grave as he reviewed the data from the Invincible. Thompson and Reed had spent the last 3 hours explaining everything, the truth about the Alderaan Empire and their hidden Centauri controllers. "This changes our entire strategic position," Turner said at last. "If the Alderaan are just puppets, then we're not facing a superior civilization. We're fighting our old enemies, just in new clothes." "Yes, sir," Thompson agreed. "But there's more." "Dr. Reed has been analyzing the technical data we recovered. The Invincible's quantum drive technology isn't just a weapon. It could change everything about how we fight this war." Reed stepped forward, pulling up technical diagrams on the holographic display. The Invincible's quantum drive was decades ahead of anything we have now. But with the data we recovered, we might be able to reproduce it. Not just for weapons, but for shields, communications, even faster than light travel. Turner's eyes narrowed. "How long would it take to build?" "That's the problem, sir," Reed admitted. "Months, maybe years, and we don't have that kind of time. The Alderaan, the Centauri, they know we have this data now. They'll attack before we can develop it." Turner nodded grimly. "They're already moving. We've detected massive fleet movements at the edge of Alderaan space. They're preparing for a full-scale invasion." "Then we need a different approach," Thompson said. "Doctor, what about the prototype quantum drive at the Echo Base research facility? Could we modify it using what we learned from the Invincible?" Reed's eyes lit up. "Maybe. It's an older design, but the basic principles are similar. If we could integrate the Invincible's control systems." She turned to Turner. "Sir, we need access to that facility." Turner was silent for a moment, considering. "Echo Base is our most secure research facility. If the Alderaan discover its location," he sighed. "But we're out of options. Captain Thompson, Dr. Reed, you'll head there immediately. I'm giving you full authority to modify the prototype. Just get it working before the enemy arrives. Echo Base." The journey to Echo Base took 2 days. The facility was hidden in an asteroid field, protected by powerful cloaking technology. As the Pathfinder approached, Thompson couldn't help but admire the ingenuity of its design. The entire base was built inside a massive asteroid, virtually invisible to outside sensors. Dr. Wells, the base's chief scientist, met them in the main lab. The prototype quantum drive sat in the center of the room, surrounded by complex monitoring equipment. It was smaller than the Invincible's drive, but Reed's eyes gleamed with excitement as she examined it. "The basic design is sound," she said, running her hands over the control panels. "But they were missing crucial elements in the control systems. With the Invincible's data, We can make it work properly. They worked around the clock, modifying the prototype. Reed led the technical team, integrating the ancient Dreadnought's control algorithms into the modern systems. Thompson coordinated with base security, knowing they were in a race against time. On the fourth day, alarms blared throughout the facility. Multiple ships dropping out of jump space, a security officer shouted. Alderaan signatures. It's a full battle fleet. Thompson rushed to the control room. The tactical display showed dozens of enemy ships approaching the asteroid field. How did they find us? He demanded. Reed's face paled. They must have tracked the quantum signatures from our modifications. The prototype's been running at high power for days. How long until the drive is ready? Reed shook her head. We need at least an hour to complete the final calibrations. If we try to use it now, it could tear the base apart. The first Alderaan shots struck the asteroid field, destroying the smaller rocks. Their ships moved in a precise pattern, methodically eliminating any possible hiding place. Base defenses online, the security officer reported. But we can't hold them off for long. Our shields weren't designed for this kind of assault. Thompson watched the enemy fleets approach. Their formation was familiar, the same tactics the Centauri had used in the old war. Doctor, he said slowly, what if we don't need the drive to be fully operational? What if we just need it to work? Once. Reed's eyes widened. Like the Invincible, she whispered, one massive pulse to disrupt their shields. She thought for a moment. It's possible,